Speaking of which, speaking of apocalyptic times, let's turn to Michael Snyder again. Second story by Michael Snyder today, but this one caught my attention because it really kind of puts into it puts into perspective how bad things have gotten economically speaking. He runs a lot of sites. End of the American Dream, the Economic Collapse blog. If you can't tell, he definitely is into that whole. They call it fear porn. I don't want to. I hate saying that because it's not really. He's not trying to just scare people. He's not fear mongering. This is what he truly believes. I believe that Michael Snyder is extraordinarily sincere with his proclamations of doom and gloom. And today, at least, here now going into 2024, that certainly seems like his current projections, his current predictions are looking pretty darn accurate. The title of this one is "It Now Costs $3.4 million to live, quote, the American dream, and the gap between the wealthy and the rest of us is bigger than ever." Now, look, folks, I have never been one of those, taking on the socialist mentality of it's us versus them, the rich versus the poor. I take more along the lines of it's us versus them, patriots versus the evil ones, the globalists, the powers and principalities, the powers that be, the liberal world order, the new world order, whatever you want to call the bad guys. Klaus Schwab, George Soros, Bill Gates, Barack Obama, Anthony Fauci, the Rothschilds, Council for Inclusive Capitalism. If you're not familiar, look it up, Council for Inclusive Capitalism. But we're not talking about that today. We're talking about the challenges, economic challenges we are having here in America. And other people, if you're not in America, you're probably experiencing much of the same, if not even worse. So according to the article, for a long time, it has been clear that the middle class is being systematically destroyed. The cost of living has been rising faster than paychecks have for years, and this has pushed millions of Americans into poverty. As for those who were already impoverished, many of them are being pushed out into the streets. According to the Wall Street Journal, homelessness in the United States is increasing at the fastest rate ever recorded in 2023. Anyone that thinks we do not have a major problem on our hands simply has not been paying attention. At one time, living the American dream was a goal that the vast majority of Americans could aspire to achieve, but now it is out of reach for most of the country. In fact, a report that was just released concludes that now it takes $3.4 million for the typical U.S. household to live the quote-unquote American dream over the course of a lifetime. And that report comes from Daily Mail, not the Wall Street Journal. This comes from Daily Mail. They say the so-called American dream is the benchmark that many people hope to achieve in their lifetime. Getting married, buying a home and a car, and raising children. But new analysis has found that achieving these milestones now costs a staggering $3,455,305, much more than most Americans will make in their lifetime. One of the biggest amounts is for paying off a mortgage on a property. The average home buyer will fork out $796,998, according to Investopedia, assuming a 10% down payment and a 30-year fixed loan at 7.2% interest. And unfortunately, for those who are not currently home buyers, homeowners, if you are not paying a mortgage today, trying to get into a house is becoming much, 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 much harder and more expensive. So back to Michael Snyder. Are you going to make $3.4 million during your working years? If not, the American dream is not for you. Sorry. Today, it is only those that are at the very top of the economic food chain that are thriving. Once upon a time, America had the largest and most prosperous middle class in the history of the world, but now the top 1% controls more wealth than the entire middle class. And this comes from USA Today, a leftist publication, albeit, but hey, truths are truths, facts are facts. And I've heard that only about 68% of statistics are made up. So we can still count on 32% of them being accurate. 30 years ago, America's celebrated middle class commanded twice as much wealth as the upper 1%. This is 30 years ago, so within the lifetime of most of my listeners. Over the years, the rich have grown steadily richer. The top 1% caught and passed the middle class in a collective wealth in late 2020, Fed data shows. The top 1% of American earners now control more wealth than the entire nation's middle class. Back to Snyder. Are you seeing the picture here? This is why People ask, why is there so much money allowed in politics? It's because there needs to be so much money allowed in politics for the people that have the money to maintain themselves, to maintain their wealth. It's the reason why people like Jamie Dimon at J.P. Morgan Chase or Larry Fink over at BlackRock, all the Wall Streeters. There's a reason why they're migrating over toward um, Nikki Haley. They can control her. They know this. They know everything they need to know about her, and she will be extraordinarily favorable to them. You might think, well, why don't they like Joe Biden? And the answer to that is because they don't think Joe Biden can win. Now watch, if say, like a Gavin Newsom or somebody else hops in the mix, maybe they pull away from old neocon Nikki and go gravitate towards somebody that they think on the Democrat side might win. But until then, she is their knight in shining armor. They don't want Trump. He's bad for business, bad for the globalists, bad for the uber rich, and they don't think Biden could win. They would go for Biden if they thought he could win. They just don't think he could win. They definitely don't want Kamala Harris in there. Okay, I mean that would be tanking of the entire nation in a matter of weeks. I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating either. Kamala Harris as president of the United States, and we would have weeks left until the collapse came. It would be crazy. But back to Michael Snyder. This is what happens when power and wealth are highly centralized. That's the key word. The gap between the wealthy and the rest of us is now bigger than ever. So good luck trying to live a middle class lifestyle in this environment. Do you want to buy a couch? Well, the exact same couch that would have cost you $799 in 2019 will now cost you $1,599. And this is, again, according to the Daily Mail. What they're saying is an interior designer has revealed an IKEA couch that used to cost $799 in 2019 is now double the price 4 years later. Jillian D., a small business owner based in Los Angeles, went viral on TikTok after switching somebody's video about stitching LOL Just Mark's video about the Swedish furniture giant's crazy prices. Mark, a construction and home decor expert, pointed out that IKEA's Finola sofa and chaise now costs a whopping $1,599, saying he wouldn't pay more than $700 for it. Well, that's bad. That's really bad. I've seen, and I'm sure everybody's seen examples. It's not something that's isolated to the furniture industry or the food industry or the whatever. We're seeing it across the board, folks. We're seeing it with clothing. Okay. And my wife literally just bought the same jeans because I'm a simple guy, right? There's a certain types of jeans that I like, and she just, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Once they get, frayed at the bottom, she just buys me the same ones over and over again. Same thing with shoes. But we're seeing that if you're like me and you're buying the same things that you've been buying for years, what you're finding is that you're paying much, 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 much more. Okay. And I'm saying, comparatively, like go from like 10 years ago to 5 years ago, there was a modest increase, an expected increase. Going from 5 years ago till today, and all of a sudden it's like, holy crap, it's in a completely different ballpark. Does that make sense? No, it does not, except if you think along the lines of that failure. In other words, if you think, wow, the Biden regime is really failing, they're really blowing this, then you still can't it still doesn't quite come together right of how everything can be shifting like that. Okay, it's a seismic shift. It's a sea change in the way that things are priced. So no matter how bad his policies are, no matter how many mistakes he makes, how could he be that wrong? But here's the thing. If you think along the lines of maybe he's not failing, maybe his handlers, I should say, it's not really him, maybe his handlers aren't failing. Maybe they're doing and accomplishing exactly what they set out to do. Maybe this is why the 2020 election was stolen, because they needed somebody who was willing to do whatever they said. Somebody like Joe Biden. They couldn't have done this with Bernie Sanders. Okay? They couldn't have. Bernie Sanders wouldn't have allowed things to get like this. And I don't like Bernie Sanders, okay? I'm not saying, vote Bernie, feel the burn. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying there's a reason why he had the nomination almost locked up after the first 3 or 4 primaries in 2020. Okay? Going into Super Tuesday, the first Super Tuesday, he was done. He was going to clear the table. He was going to leave no doubt Joe Biden had, not placed higher than sixth place or so in anywhere other than South Carolina leading up to Super Tuesday. But they decided, because he did do well in South Carolina, they decided, the powers that be said, you know what, we can't have Bernie. It's got to be Joe. So somebody get Buttigieg on the line. Somebody get a Klobuchar on the line. Somebody get, all these, get those two. Let's just start with those two. Get them out of here. Okay. Make them go away. Make whatever promises you need to make, whatever dirt you have to dig up to threaten them. Get them out, because we need Joe to do well on Super Tuesday, and he's not going to do well if he's got to go against the people that are actually, doing better than him currently. They're doing better than him. So if we consolidate them, Bernie can have all the crazy, crazy radical leftist votes. We try to consolidate the non-crazies behind Joe, and maybe we can pull this off. That was the plan. That's exactly what happened. Okay, Buttigieg and Klobuchar were both ahead of Biden at the time. They were only behind Bernie at the time. Why did they drop out before Super Tuesday? Keep in mind, Klobuchar's home state was coming up for Super Tuesday. She had no reason to drop out. She did, because they wanted Joe. They wanted Joe badly. They were willing to lie, cheat, and steal to get Joe Biden to be the nominee, and that's exactly what they did. Now, looking at the economy, looking at this series of planned, manipulated, scripted events that have taken place since he's been installed into the Oval Office, it's crystal clear to me. I hope it's crystal clear to you. And if not, do more research, read a book or something. I don't know what book's written about it, but that's what they say when people are trying to be rude. Read a book. I'm not trying to be rude here. I'm just saying, look around. You can't be this bad unless you're being this bad on purpose. If you were to take a hundred question multiple choice test, and you were to just answer B, C, B, C, B, C, B, C, or let's say you didn't study for it and you try to give your best answers, okay, that's the type of failure that happens, like if you're not trying. And you'll get 35, maybe 25, maybe 40%. Maybe you luck out, and because you have a little bit of understanding of the topic, maybe you might get a 50, but you're going to fail either way. What the Biden-Harris regime has been doing is they've been going through this 100 question multi-choice test, and they've been getting every single one of them wrong. You can't do that. It's not possible for you to do that unless you know what the right answers are and you intentionally avoid those. It doesn't matter whether it's the border, the foreign policy, fiscal policy, Bidenomics. Okay, everything that they have tried to put out there has failed miserably, which means that they know how to not fail. They're intentionally tanking it. It's not just Joe Biden, and really, it's not even just the Democrats. This is the uniparty swamp under the direction of the globalist elite cabal. So when we look at this and we see, oh my gosh, you're telling me it's going to cost $3.4 million to live the American dream? I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this, folks, but here in 5 years, that'll probably, if we're still here, that number won't be 3.4 million. It'll be completely unachievable. It'll be 30 million, 300 million. It will be at a level that nobody other than the anointed elites, they're the only ones that will be able to afford steaks. They're the only ones that will be able to afford a house or gas. Everybody else will have to take their universal basic income. I'm not telling you this is a fearmonger. I'm telling you this is a warning. If we are going to fix this, we can't wait. We should have been fixing it already. And I know a lot of you have tried. But now we have to come together and we have to figure out what is it that we can do to prevent this. I don't want to say, oh, just wait until the election. Wait until we get Trump in there. That'll fix everything. Folks, the election, it's over a year before Trump is even um, inaugurated. Over a year now, if we were to wait for the election. And that's if the election isn't stolen from him, either by the deep state in the primaries or something else. Pandemic Panic Theater 2.0, war with China, something that can happen between now and then. There's no given, so don't wait. Act now. And the best way to act, people are like, oh, it's easy to say that, but what do you want to do? Number one, prepare yourself. Make sure. Get out of the cities. Get out of the suburbs. Go find yourself a place if you can, if you have the resources. If not, try to figure out how to get the resources, but get away from the cities. Make yourself unbeholden. Get chickens. Prepare. Get ready. I know it's not for everybody. I know that not everybody is capable of doing it physically. Not everybody is capable of doing it financially. Not everybody wants to do it. Maybe you know what? I would rather the income and I'm still here with my friends and family than surviving off in the country. Maybe that's you. I'm not trying to. I don't clown on anybody's lifestyle choices. Literally anybody's. Somebody wants to. They can do whatever they want. I'm just saying that my suggestion, my hope, is that we have a whole lot of people that are capable of fighting this when the time comes to fight. And I don't care how patriotic somebody is, if they have to choose between feeding their family or not, if they have to roll up their sleeves and get jabbed and stand in a line for government to hand them their daily supply of food, and if that's the only option, if they didn't prepare themselves, that's their only option. They could be the best patriots ever. They could wrap themselves in an American flag blanket every night, but they're still not going to be useful. They're still going to be beholden to government, which means that they're not going to be allies. We need allies. We need people to either help stop this before it comes to fruition, or we need to have people that can rebuild afterwards. Most importantly, if you can do nothing, if let's say your situation, you can't leave, you can't fight, you can't prepare, at the very least, everybody, whether you can or not prepare, if you can or can't prepare, at least start praying more and more and more. America needs prayers. We all do. We all do. That's the most important thing that you can do, literally ever. Be sure to catch me on all of my various channels. You can catch the live shows, see these clips like the one you just saw over at jdrucker.com/shows. That's jdrucker.com/shows.